Hello everyone, this is Professor Kent. Today I am going to record lesson 11. You have to set up the database in MSQL Server and set up the database in Sage. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from loading the database, and again you have to load lesson 10, and I'm going to load lesson 10, and I am here loading lesson 10. So set directory, we're going to browse and desktop, and I have a lesson 10. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to do lesson 11, but I am loading lesson 10 that I finished off. And then let's do that. I'm going to do next. Make sure you load from lesson 10 to work on lesson 11. Lesson 11 is a vendor maintenance. So that's what we're going to be working on, vendor maintenance. In other words, we're going to show you how to create vendor groups, how to create vendor profiles, and how to create remit to locations and print information report. So vendors work similar to customers, accounts receivable. So they both are similar. Both modules are similar. So we're gonna work with vendor maintenance first. And we are working with 31/01/2021. Make sure you have the right session date. So we're connecting to the database. So if you look at the bottom of my screen, we have a session date which is 31/01/2021, and we want to know if our accounts payable module is ready. And now what we wanted to do is we wanted to go to our I'm going to show here what we're going to do is we are going to set up, we're working with accounts payable. So this is where we're going to work with accounts receivable. Now what we had to do is we needed to go and set up the groups. First we're doing the groups, then we're going to the profile for our vendors. So in this case we're doing the groups first. So when you do that, you click on the AP vendors, then you double click on the vendor groups. For vendor groups, what we have is we have two groups for Omni. One is for the US companies, US vendors, and one is for Canadian vendors. So first we're going to do for the electrical division and Canadian vendors. So when we do that, what you're going to do is it's electric division, and then C and Canadian. So in this case, that's what we're going to do, and we're going to say this group is for Canadian vendors. See, Canadian vendors, and that is for which division? Your electrical division. When you go there, so what we have to do is now we could do is for the account set, we are going to go to the finder. In this case, we are going to look these ones. We already set it up in our last module. So ECN, then we're going to go to term code. In this case, term code we want is 30. These ones are for net 30. So we're going to do that. Select, then we're going to bank code, where the money is going to go. Of course, the TD checking, and then the payment will be, we're going to do it, and then we wanted a check in this case, and we selected. So what we did is we created the group. So that's what we did. So now what we're going to do is don't add yet. We're going to go to the next tab. In this case, it is your invoicing. So this is where you're invoicing. So when we do that, we want to know how we're going to be invoicing. So in this case, select and when you're doing it, we have the distribution code, and this is in other words, we're looking at it, the codes. So we're selecting our distribution by method. So that's what we're trying to do. So the first thing we're going to do is when you're here is for Canadian vendors for electrical division. You're going to select distribute by. We have to do distribution code, and then what we have to do is we have to find which distribution code. We already set it up. In this case, we are going to do INVEL, inventory for electrical division. So we're going to select it. And then what we're going to do is, so beside the vendor and the amount, what we have is we have a drop down window. So what we're going to do is we are going to say warning. So when you're doing, and then what you're going to do to the date, when you go to the if there's a right arrow beside it, we wanted to select them, so give us the warning. So duplicate. So in other words, what we're doing is when we're checking something, or if we're inputting the same amount to the vendor, the system should give you a warning that, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure this is the vendor date? So in other words, we wanted to tell the system to tell us when we are duplicating something. And then the tax code where this is going to be, this vendor group is in Ontario. And then once you do the interior, and then what we're going to do is when the class code here, the class in this case, what we're going to do is one, and no, it automatically comes in. What we're going to do is if you double click on the if you double click on the, in this case, click on the finder right side to look at the classes. So remember, we created different type of classes. We created taxable, non-taxable, zero rated, and export. So in this case, we wanted the taxable. In this case, if we want to double click on the taxable, even though it's taxable before, so what we're going to do is we're going to select it. So if some could be paying taxes, some could not be paying taxes, in this case you needed to select the right one in this case. So and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the top in the optional field. In this optional field, what we're doing is we wanted to set up the optional field. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the first one, the optional field. In this case, if it doesn't go there, you could do the insert, and then we go to the finder. In this case, it will be for our region. So that's what you're going to be doing, and it will be for the finder and region. And then when you go to the in this case, we are going to go to the right side. So this is what we're just going to tab it over. So in other words, nothing is happening. So now if you want to go to, if you look at it, sorry, close. So what you're going to do when you do this, the part here is we wanted to add it. So in this case, we're going to add, but if you look at it, the statistic column is now showing up. That means we already turned it off in our setup, original option setup. So what I'm going to do is we're going to add it. So I didn't set up the region, so we're going to go, what we needed to do is we needed to set it up. So in this case, I did not set it up, so we needed to go set. So you have to save it here in order to see the statistic. So in other words, when you do that ECN, we have optional field, we have statistic. Statistic won't be a visual till you save it. So you save it first before you could do anything. In other words, the statistic cannot be updated till the vendor group is set up. So vendor group is first one, you have to save it in order to do that. So that's the first thing. And then what we're going to do is we can't make any changes in the statistic group, because we cannot, if you look at it, it's not going to let us do any changes this, because we already have it set up in the original one that do not make any changes, because we want the statistics to be kept alone. So in this case, we're going to save it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to vendor group again. Now we're going to set it up for the other ones. So in this case, if you go to page exercise 11.1, it is step number 40. We needed to add the vendor groups, the next vendor group. The next vendor group is MCN, and that is for Canadian vendors, Canadian DIN vendors, and that is for your machinery division. First we did it for electrical division, now we are doing it for machinery division. Again, you're going to look for account set, and this will, we're looking for MC Canadian. So they search for my Canadian vendors. And then again, term code, we're going to select 30. For the test purpose, we're going to be telling you which one to do, and then your payment code will be, it'll be check. It'll be check. We select it, then we go to the invoicing. When you're doing an invoicing, we are going to do the first one, which is going to be distribution code, and then you're going to select, and it's going to be manufacture, MANEQP, because it's already set up in the previous lesson. And this is, we're going to do warning. Second one is your warning. The tax group, we are going to look for it. In this case, it's an interior group, and they're taxable interior groups. You're going to select it, and if I go here, double click it to the finder, and we're looking for, even though it was there before, we could do that. I'm gonna add here, because it's, if I don't add it here, when you go to the optional field, it's going to give us an error message. It's not going to save it. So I'm going to region, and then tab it over. And then what we're going to do is, we sometimes if you get an error message, because the value set has to be yes. If it's not yes, then you'll get an error message. So in this case, it's it automatically picks up. So you, like I said, that we cannot make any changes to the statistics. So we done that. Let's go to our next one. The next group we have is EUS, electrical division for US vendors. We're going to do electrical division, sorry, US vendors for electrical divisions. US vendors, and it is for our electrical division. And then we're going to go to the account set. In this case, we are looking for EUS. So that's the one we're looking for. It's a US vendors, and our term, in this case, term is 30. We have done that. Select yes. Your bank code will be TD checking, and then our payment will be our check. We're going to be doing a check. So going to the invoicing, that's our next one. We're going to do a distribution code, and we have, in this case, what we wanted to do is INVELC, inventory for electrical division. And then we're going to do a warning, give us a warning. When we do that, select the group, and in its case, it is not interior, it is US. So in this case, we are going to look for the tax group. Tax group will be US. Now, if you look at it, if it's not, if it doesn't come up, that means we haven't set it up. So in this case, we haven't set it up. So I am going to go and set up the tax. We have to leave it here and then go set up the, when we did the tax, maybe I missed this when I was doing it earlier. So we're going to go set it up. I'm just going to, you want to save the added to the group, I could say yes, and then it says you cannot leave it blank. So in other words, I cannot save it till you want to add it. I'll say no. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our taxes now. If it doesn't let you do that, that means we missed something in lesson number 9 when we were doing it, setting up the taxes. So this one was missed, so I'm going to close it. Now I'm going to go back, and what we're going to do is we're going to finish off what we were trying to do, and it wasn't letting me do the US. So let's just see if it lets me do that now. So we're going to, in this case, what we're going to do is we're setting up the group. The group that we're doing was the EUS. So in this case, we did not, wasn't able to set it up. Let's do that. US, and it is for vendors for electrical division. And the account set will be your EUS, it's for US vendors, and the term is 30. Select, you have your bank as your TD bank, then you go here and select the check. We did that. It was letting us do that. The only part it wasn't letting us go to this. So distribution code, that will be your EUS. So in this case we have it IN, where it is, and inventory for electric. Give us a warning if it's something duplicate. Accounting set, it should be your US. See, if it doesn't show up, that means we didn't enter it in your purchases, so we had to do that. So in this case we will have one for an export. So let's do that. Double click it. It should be one for export, and we select it, and then we add it. Now we're gonna save it, and then the optional field, this is the optional field. In this case the optional field will be, again, you're going to find, and it should be your reason, and it's going to, once you do that, we save it. And the other thing is the statistic there, you shouldn't be able to do anything. We're going to close it, and now what we're going to do is we are going to go and do the next one. In this case it is MUS, and it is US vendors, and it is MS machinery division. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to account set. When we do that, we have your US MUS machinery for vendors, and it's for machinery department. Our term code is 30, and we are going to have a check, TD bank, and it's a check. Select. We're going to go to the invoicing, and it seems like we're repeating ourselves, but this needs to be done. So in MANEQP, select. We're going to have warning. We're going to have a warning, and then tax group should be the US, because this is for our US. Again, if you double click it, it should be the export finder. It should be in exports. We say yes. So we have done what we needed to do. If you look at it now, I go to my optional field. Optional field will be your region. So finder, region, select, and we are going to go here. We add it. Once you add it, then the statistic becomes active. Otherwise it doesn't become active. So now what we're going to do is we're going to collect the vendor group. Once we collect the vendor group, the next one is we're creating the vendor profile. So that's what we're going to do, create the vendor profile. So we're going to close this. In this case, when we're creating a vendor profile, you're going to double click on the vendors. That's what you're going to click on. Sometimes it takes a little longer depending on how fast your internet is. In this case, what we're going to doing is we're trying to type the vendors. In other words, we're setting up the vendors. The first one is your 1000. The vendor name we want you to use is Kramaden. That's the name of the vendor. CRAMDEN, tool and die. And then we wanted to know, go to group field. When you do that, we have to do the finder. In this case, it's for a Canadian group. And then what we needed to do is we're going to bypass the everything except from the when they started the business with us. So in this case, with this, we're just going to go with the when this business was started. That's what it means in this case. We wanted to know the business. Now we're going to go to starter date. Start date is when did we started dealing with them. In this case, they want you to go to 01/15/2019. So in other words, you're going to go to 1990. In this case, it is not active here in this case because you have to select it which year is January, and then you're going to select the 15. So that's what you're going to do. In other words, we needed to enter the address for this customer, for this vendor. It will be their address, 875 West Avenue, and then we have the where this vendor is from Toronto, and it is Ontario, and it is the postal code that we want to do is M2S3K9. Again, the information is given to us on page in exercise 11.9. What we wanted to do is you wanted to add much information as is given to you in the question or in the field. And then what we have is we have given email and the phones because we wanted to connect with them. So this vendor, in case we needed to reach out, it is 416-604-2548. That's the first one. Then what we wanted to do is for the next one, 604-2569. So that's our next one. Email address we're gonna do is accounting at the name of the company, CramadenTools.com. And then we could also do the website. We don't need to kind of do that. And in other words, we're going to go to the next one is the contact information. Under the contact information, what we want to know, who should be connecting with in case we have a problem with our invoices. So it's in this case, we will talk to Ray Strong, and the email for this person is 416-604-2548. And then it is important. Why is it important? When we call them, we wanted to know what we want to do. I'm not going to put the fax number or the email address. Next, we're going to go to processing. If you look at it, these ones automatically comes up because we did set it up in the one before we did it. So we're going to accept everything the way it is. What we're going to do is double click. Now what we're going to do is the term code. We can change the term code for this vendor, and what we wanted the term code, this vendor will be 210 net 30. The original ones we set it up as a net 30 when we group. Now what we wanted to do is for the Pacific one we wanted to do, and their limit is $10,000. So that's what we wanted to do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on the invoicing. When you do an invoicing, it tells you what distribution code is. We're going to accept that. Accept everything the way it is. Now click on the registration number. Now what we are doing is on the register number, we want to know what HSC number they're registered under. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's never like this, but it's just an exercise. You're gonna do the HST number that they are registered under. Then you're gonna go to the optional field. Under the optional field, what you wanted to do is you wanted to add the optional field. In this case, we are gonna, if you go to the first one, what we're gonna do is you're gonna double click it. When you double click it, you're gonna find the region. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna set it up. And then what we're gonna do once we have done what we needed to do, we're gonna click on add. If you look at, you have to save it first to have these windows active. So these windows can be active once you do that. This is their activities. Now we haven't done anything in this case. If you click on the activity, this will come up. We didn't do anything at all. This will tell us what our invoices were, how many credit notes we have, how many debit notes, and when we did the adjustment. So we're going to leave these alone. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the comment. And the comment one is that what we wanted to do is we wanted to know when these fields were entered. So if I click on this, so in this case, if I what we wanted to do is we wanted to select the enter the field. In this case, we are going to do is on the second. So we're going to do it on the second, and then what we're going to do is the expiration date will be, let's say expiration, we wanted to do the 0303. So let's do that. We are going to go to 03, but it's going to be 2021. That's the year. In this case, it's a 30 days from the time, right? So that's what we means is it's 30 days after the date you entered. So that's what the expiry date becomes. So that's what we mean by that. So 30 days. So in this case, we wanted, if you want to follow up with them for any other reasons, in this case it will be on the February 15th. We wanted to follow up with them. So actually 15, February 15, and this should be the February, sorry, not January, February the 1st. So that's your first day is February. So yeah, February 1st. Yeah. Month, day, month, and a year. That's what we're doing. So in other words, enter the following comments. What we wanted to do is call Ray. We wanted to make a comment. What we wanted to remind ourselves, we have to call them. So say call. This is going to be call Ray regarding his new line of products. This is, in other words, this is the notes, and the system is going to spit out when you open it. And I'm going to say close it, and I'm going to save it. So this is one save. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter a new one. So we're going to enter the vendors the way it's shown on page 18. So this is the first one we did, and now I wanted to do a new one. The new one should be 1020. The name of that vendor is the Office Depot. And then the group will be, which group is it? ECN is a Canadian vendor. And then what we're going to, registration vendor, we're going to leave it alone. When did they started? Short name for is the office. That's okay. And what we're going to do is, this is the, we wanted to, so in this case, we wanted to go to 1998. So you could do shortcuts, and then in this case we are in the business with them since 98, and it was month is March, and 15, that's when we started dealing with them. In other words, we wanted to put the name of it, their legal name. We don't need to worry about it. We have to put it in the address 2561, and that is your Woodward Avenue, and then what we're going to do is city is your Toronto. We are going to go to Ontario, and then what we have is postal code. Their postal code is M6J2T1, and then the email is given to us on the page, exercise 11.2, accounts at officedepot.com. Website, we don't need to worry. I'm not going to enter those ones. Contact information, who should we contact in case something goes wrong. In this case, it's Janet Elliott is the person that we're going to be dealing with, and we have the number. In this case, it's a 416-604-2554, and there's an email. So what we wanted to I wanted to go to processing. And down this one, what we wanted to do is we wanted to keep it at net 30. So we are going to keep it net 30. Their limit is 2,500. So that's where we put the credit limit for the person in this case. And what we're going to do is next we're going to go to invoicing. We're going to do distribution code, and we wanted to change the distribution code to Office 100. So in this case, we are changing it to Office 100. It's Ontario, and class 1 is always taxable. And then what we wanted to do is, now if you, in order to go here, we have an optional field that is a region, and then what we're going to do is we are going to go here. So now if you look at it, the business number, you can register I saw the business number here, which is my 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 or 9. So that's the business number, which I didn't enter before. In other words, I have to add it in order for the option of in order for the statistic field or activity or any comments to be active. So in this case, they told us no comments, so we're going to leave it alone. And I'm going to do is we're going to enter a new one. Our new one will be 1040. That's our new vendor, and it's a Maynard Insurance. So that's the insurance company. That's our other vendor that we are dealing with. It is Maynard Insurance. the group code, again, it is goes under the Canadian, so it's a Canadian vendor. We're going to leave the business number alone, and short number automatically comes up. And the starter date is, we started dealing with them in the 2019, so I am going to go to, not 2019, 99. So I'm going to go to that year, and then which year? August. So in this case August, and it's August 21st. We're going to leave that alone. So in this case, where we're dealing with them, they are from BC. So 865 is a main street, and they are from Vancouver. So this company is in Main Street, and they are in BC. So they're Vancouver, and then the country is still in Canada. Sorry, state is BC, and the Canada, and the postal code is B3K4Y7. So that's the thing. Email, I'm going to leave it alone because it's already there, but we don't need to, in this case, the name of the person, and under the context, the name of the person is Harry Rosen, and their phone number that we have to deal with is 604. In case we have a problem, we can call them 8565, and they have an email address. So in other words, these are just the normal things. I'm not going to finish it, but the part I wanted to finish is this one. In this case, what we wanted to do is they are going to make installment payments. So I'm going to select the installment, and then it's a TD check, and then we have mail. We are going to leave everything the way it is. Then we're going to go to invoicing, and it's a distribution code, and then we wanted to select it. Make sure you're selecting the right one, and it's a INS 100. In this case, INS 100. We select it. In this case, this is not an interior, this group is in a BC, so we select the BC. In this case, under the BC, we have two. One is taxable, and the number for the first one is your 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. For the next one is non-taxable, and we're going to select number 2 for non-taxable. If it's a non-taxable, there's no number for it, so the comment, we are going to leave it alone. So in this case, we are going to leave the comment alone. So let's add it. So once you get the add, then the optional field becomes available. In this case, we are going to do the reason. I'm going to finder, region finder. I'm going to select it, and when you tab it, it automatically does it. Then the statistic, activity, and comments, we're leaving everything alone. Now we're going to go to the next one. Our next vendor that we're going to enter is 1060, and the vendor name is Nigel International, and the group code is, it goes under the MUSA. This is a US vendor, so we're going to do that, but we are going to leave everything alone, and we're going to go to my starter date. When did we start doing a business with them? So where we start doing a business in 99, and it was on May, and it is 12th. And then what we're going to do is the legal name is same. If they're different, then you add it. In other words, we have to go to the address. In this case, the address will be a US address, 854 Skyview Drive. The city will be Buffalo, and the New York, and the postal code will be 985653. And again, there's an email address that is given to us. We'll just it's a head office at nagleit.com. So I'm going to go to contact information. Who should we contact? In this case, it's a Jerry Rogers that we have to deal with if there's any issues. And I'm going to go to processing. Our processing will be net. In this case, we want to do within 15 days. Our check is TD, everything else is same. When you go to the invoicing, we're going to do it distribution code, and then it will be manufacturing equipment. Everything comes up, but what we have to do is, in this case it's the US, we have to, again, if I cannot go to, if I go to here, I'm going to show you what happens. Select, if I tab it, so, and then I'm going to add it. So we have done, in other words, you have to save it in order to the statistic field to be active and the activity to be active, and your comment has to be active. So now we're going to go to the next one. Our next one is your Bell Canada. So in this case, we have a Bell Canada. That's our next vendor. So we're going to go to 1080, and that's our Bell Canada. In this case, we're going to look for ECN. We select it, and what we're going to do is, in this case, the address for the Bell Canada is Post Box. So PO Box 920. These are just the addresses. We don't need to kind of worry about it if it's the right address or not at this point, because it's a learning. But in the real life, we need to have the right address, so that when we needed to deal with them, we know that where to connect with them, how to connect with them. W1G5, and it is customer service at bell.ca. And who do we talk to? In other words, there's no name to talk to. We just talk to customer service when we call them. So in this case, it's a customer service that we needed to talk to them. And when you do a processing, it's within 15 days, due within 15 days. TD check, we're okay with the check. Delivery method is a mail. So now we're going to go to invoicing, and distribution code will be set. So in this case, we changed it. If you notice, the other one, it was distribution code. In this case, this is the one we have a distribution set. In this case, because we have two divisions in this, we have a 100 and 200. So first one is your 100. We selected, it's in Ontario, and we have number for them 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So that's the number, and what we're going to do is go to the optional field, and we have a region. So we are going to select the region, and then we tab it over and we select. So in this case, we have done what we needed to do. Is what we're going to do is add and close. The next step, they're asking you to create some accounts. Where do we create our accounts? In our GL. So this was my GL. I'm going to select, and I'm going to create an account. They want you to create two accounts. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get it. So in this case, they want you to add, in this case, 6015, and they want you to create 100 account, and that should be your freight expense. If it's a freight expense account, where does it go? It goes on the income statement. Any income statement will be division, and normal balance is your debit balance. And then what we're going to do is we group it. Group will be 22 other expenses. So 22 other expenses, we select it, and we leave everything the way it is. Now we have to do add it. And then when we go to the next one, we have to select a new one for our second one. So 1615 200, and that is for your freight expense again, but it is for your other division now. So in this case, it will be a division. This is an income statement account. Normal balance is a debit. It's an income statement, and it is number 22. So we're going to leave everything to the way it is. So I'm just going to add it, and then this account is active. So now what we wanted to do is, now we wanted to add rest of the two vendors, because they do have probably freight expense with these ones. So let's do save. So now we close it, and then we're going to go back to our vendors. When you do the vendor groups, so now what we are entering is we are entering a vendor. This is the next one we're entering. It will be your 2000. That's the vendor name is Kingsway Transit. In this case, we have a group code. We are going to add MCN. It's already there. And then what we're going to do is we are going to go to the address. In this case, when did we started it? Doing a business with them, and it is 19 again. So when we are doing it, 99. In this case, we have 99. And which month? In this case, June and June 15. That's when we started doing a business with them. 2248, and it is Wilmot Drive. So that's the Wilmot Drive, and this is for my Calgary, and then it is Calgary is in Alberta. And their zip code is M2. Sorry, I'm trying to read it. K3S1. So in this case, and they will have an email and the website. I'm not going to do that. Contact information is who do we deal with. In this case, it's a Cheryl Pierce that we are going to deal with, and there should be a number for her. But we're going to go to processing. That's what is more important. Account set is this. We'll leave it alone. Everything the way it is. We are going to go to our credit limit. In this case, the credit limit for this vendor is $6,000. And then what we're going to go to invoicing, and what we're going to do is when you're doing an invoicing, we are going to go here. It's by GL account, so we're going to do it by GL account. In this case, we had 2 accounts that we set it up, and that's what we're going to do. 6015. This is our first one. 15, and this is for our 200. So we're going to do our 200, and maybe they want us to do the 100 for the next one, which is okay. In this case, the group is going to be Alberta. So in this case, it's on the Alberta. So this is the one taxable, and then we're going to add registration 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. We done that. Once we have done that, we have to go to your optional fields. That is for the region finder. It's already there. We select it. Once we've done that, we are going to, in this case, we have to add it to have my comment and statistic to be available. In this case, they want you to enter the date under the comment. So in this case, they wanted you to do it 21st, and then it's again, it is going to be on the February, and it's February 1st. The expiration date is March the 2nd. We wanted to follow up when we wanted to follow up in the middle of February, which is on the 15th, and we wanted to, what our comment is, check. We wanted to check with the shipment, check with shipping department, check CHEC, check for check on shipment to see if we received the shipment. If not, then we know that who we are supposed to talk to. I'm going to save it. We're going to add a new one. This is going to be our last vendor. We're going to do West. In this case, it is West Metal Products. Group code here is where it goes with. Is this a Canadian vendor? Yes, it is, because we know the province. In this case, selected. In this case, they've been in the business since 98, since we're doing business with them. So in this case, we are doing a business with since 1998. So I'm going to click on the 98, and it's April 19. Our address is going to be 8122 Stanley Avenue, Stanley Street. And then where they are in Edmonton. Edmonton is in Alberta. Sorry, it should be in the city. And they are in Alberta. Their postal code is NOH2K4. And then we're going to go to contact. Who should we contact? In this case, it's a John Rutherford. They have an email for him, but I'm not going to enter it, but you go ahead and enter it. So next we're going to go to our processing. In this case, it is 210 net 30. So we needed to do that. We selected TD check mail, and their limit, we have a limit with them $10,000, so we can buy up to $10,000. Then we're going to go to invoicing. In this case, for the invoicing, we are going to do distribution code, and that is your manufacturing EQP. And what we're going to do is which province we are in. Alberta, we are select, and our GST is your 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. We add it, and then I go to my optional field, select region, select, and then there's no codes or anything. We are going to save it. And then what we are doing is, now we have done what we needed to do for my vendors and the vendor groups. We already created them, and I'm going to close this window. And the next one we are going to do is remit to location. So this is what we're going to do, remit to location. So when you do that, when you do this, we are going to go to the vendor field. In this case, our first vendor is you selected. In this case, if it doesn't go to the next line, remit to, what we needed to do is like what we did before. We are going to do an insert button. So in this case, I have to do an insert button. Sorry, not here. Close it. I want to go here. I'm just looking for my my insert button. So in this case, what we are doing is remit to location. So what we're doing is we're trying to remit to location. So in this case, what we're going to do here is of course, remit to location. When we're doing it, it's saying remit to location, we have a 1. When we do that, it becomes comes active. In this case, the name of the company, in this case, Cromaden Industrial Center. And then we are going to leave this inactive. In this case, primary remit, we are going to leave it inactive. So when we're going to click on the address, in this case, this is the optional field are the optional. In other words, we don't need to enter them, but in case in a real life we do need to enter them, that's the main office for them. Kramden, Cromaden Court, and then they are in Toronto. And then province is Ontario. And then what we're going to do is their postal code. Their postal code is M4K2L9. And the email, there's no email, there's a telephone number. We're going to accept the NG. So what we're going to do is next we're going to go to the context. So there's also who we submit the invoices, so who we get the invoices from. In this case, it's James Chandley, if you have a problem with it, with the main office, Chandley. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click add, and then we are going to click add. What we're going to do is we are going to save it. So this is save it. So this is how we could do it. So I'm sure we could have it for other vendors too. In this case, we only done it for one. I'm sure we have it for the other vendors. So now what we have to do is, now we have done what we needed to do. What we're going to do is you could run the reports. Again, before you run a report, you make your your printer to be preview, because we don't want to print anything. We wanted to do a PDF of it. So that's the first thing you should do, is to do the PDF reports. In this case, we needed to do a PDF of that. So in this case, I'm going to go to in this case, where when you do it to the report, you're going to go to the folder, and then in this case it is your vendor group. If I were to double click on it, system is doing it. We're just going to take its time. So as this comes up, what we're going to do is we wanted to run the reports. When you run the reports, where you're running it, you wanted to do a group list. In this case, what you're going to do is you're going to do you could do it either by vendors or either by vendor list. So first we wanted to do a group list. If you wanted with statistics, you could do that. In this case, if I say print, it will generate the report for the vendor group. So in this case, system is creating it. So this is the vendor group. So this is what it is. So you're going to save it, file and save it. I'm going to close it because I don't want to print it. Then you're going to go to your next one. In this case, you double click it. In this case, it's by vendor. So in this case, what I wanted to do is you can do different ones here. You have a drop down window. You could have an address, what you wanted to do with them. So in this case, you can say that I wanted to print it from this type, from this to this date. So these are some of the options that are available to us. Select by, you could do select any options that you want. In other words, depending on what you're given into the reports and what we want you to do. Same thing we wanted to do it for Remit too. If I wanted to print Remit to location, I double click it, and then what I wanted to do is print it. So these are some of the reports that we want. We only want you to do normally 2 reports, vendor group and vendor reports for this. So these are the 2 reports. So we're done with the lesson number 11. Thank you so much for listening. Do make a comment if you like the video, if there's something you want me to change. If you have questions, you can email me right underneath the videos, or you can email me and tell me in the classroom. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, and I will see you with lesson 12 soon. Thank you so much. Again, it's your job to dump the files. So again, before I leave, I wanted you to remember that you needed to learn how to, you already know where to dump the file, how to dump it. I normally close everything before I do that, because at the end of the day, there's so much there. I wanted to dump the file. It is under administrative services. We're gonna do database dump. Now I wanted to do it. I finished lesson desktop, and I'm going to say okay. In this case, I am going to browse. In this case, I don't have a new folder. I can create a new folder. I'm going to create a new folder. If sometimes doesn't let you create a folder, you could go another way. I'm going to go to this PC desktop, and we wanted to create a folder, and that folder is going to be new, and I'm going to say lesson number 11. That's what we just finished. So I'm going to create it. So I'm going to browse, and I'm going to this desktop, and it is under where did I put it? Sometimes I think I created it on the other one. So this PC desktop, where did I create it? I probably put it somewhere else. So in this case, what we're going to do is you are going to create, and it's going to be new, and it's going to be folder. I thought I did it, but I didn't. So in this case, its name is going to be lesson number 11. I think I didn't save it. I did do it, but I didn't save it. So we're going to browse desktop, lesson 11. We're going to say okay, and I'm going to dump it. Okay. So again, you need a data and you need a system. Close it. I'm going to go and dump my system files. We say okay, and we say close. And normally system first, then the data, but it doesn't really matter. It automatically dump all the files. And we close it, and we close everything. Thank you again for listening to me. Take care, and bye for now.